but we won't. You might get into a never-ending spiral of binge-watching every single episode of every season of every single show I show you, lose all your sleep to an ever-broken promise of just watching another single episode, inevitably leading to another and another until there's nothing left but pain. Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alena and today I will share with you my personal top 10 best Amazon Prime Video TV shows. That's a lot of words. I haven't watched every single one available, obviously, but these are my top recommendations. I've put timestamps in the description box for you to jump right ahead to the tips if you have a short attention span, which I could absolutely relate to. Like, sometimes I think the internet broke me or something because I can't even read 2 pages of anything written without getting bored. I'm trying to fix that though. Anyway, if you're ready to find out what to watch on Prime Video, the coolest TV shows that I found, let's get into it. But we won't. You might get into a never-ending spiral of binge-watching every single episode of every season of every single show I show you, lose all your sleep to an ever-broken promise of just watching another single episode, inevitably leading to another and another until there's nothing left but pain. And joy, of course. Number 1, or actually number 10 on the list, because we are working our way up, is The Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale is a dystopian television series based on a novel written by Margaret Atwood. The story features a dystopia, like a world that was created after a second American Civil War. And now the regime is like a totalitarian one, and like following air pollution and several new diseases, most of the women on Earth are infertile. And the ones who aren't are kinda enslaved to be so-called handmaids and bear the children for the richer families. The main character, Arthur, is such a handmaid, and like we get to follow her story as she experiences the world order crumble and as she gets separated from her former husband and her child, and her only goal being to reunite with her family and maybe bring down the government. But no spoilers, obviously. The show's kind of dark, but the motives and themes are more than interesting. Like, every time we have a dystopia, like a dystopian future painted in a book or movie, like there's some truth to the characteristics of this dystopia. Like this dystopian world now in the real world. Like, there's always a status quo. That's what makes it so interesting to me, and I think to you too. Moving on to number 9, and with an E. This one's a Canadian coming-of-age show which tackles a wide range of issues like racism, religion, freedom, trauma, childhood abandonment, orphaning, just to name some. And the main character is 13-year-old Anne, who gets adopted by 2 people in 1896. These are brother and sister who wanted to like have a boy to help out on the farm they're living on. But instead they get Anne, and Anne is like the opposite of the child they wanted. She's imaginative, high-spirited, clever and talkative, and they have the difficulties and disagreements in the beginning, but Anne gets to stay on the farm, and like we get to experience as the viewer her life there with her. And the show is bright, creative, quite magical, and super cute. Like, I would recommend watching it not only because of the brilliant messages it conveys, but also because of the character Anne. Like, she's just so very touching and heartwarming. Number 8 on the list is This Is Us. It's an American drama television series that premiered in 2016, I think. And originally it was premiered on NBC. The main characters are triplets, Kevin, Kate and Randall, and the whole story is spun around their life, their parents and the children, because the show kind of jumps up and down the timeline. We get like story snippets from the past, the present and the future, and bit by bit the story is laid out almost like a puzzle. And every sibling is dealing with different things in life, like anxiety, fame, addiction, relationships, all kinds of love, and I just got sucked into the story. It's quite addicting and the storytelling is super touching. You know, you cry of joy and pain and frustration, and the characters are perfectly relatable because they're not perfect at all. Basically, the idea was to create a show that shows us, like this is us humans as they are in everyday life, and what they do and which problems and situations they encounter. It's a quiet show, nothing too fast-paced. The focus really is on the storytelling and the relationships between the characters and how they develop. But I think it's perfect for a nice and cozy movie night. Moving on to How to Get Away with Murder. This is a legal thriller television series that started in 2014 and ended last year actually. I was super drawn to it because our protagonist, Wes Gibbons, is played by Alfred Enoch, who also played Dean Thomas in the Harry Potter movies. Wes Gibbons is a student at Middleton University in Philadelphia where he wants to study the law. And his professor there is a popular criminal defense attorney named Annalise Keating. And she is known for making her course as practical as possible. At the beginning of the story, she kind of chooses 5 of her students, Wes included obviously, to become interns at her personal law firm. And then we get to experience Annalise working real cases with these 5 characters, helping her. And, learning everything to become an outstanding lawyer firsthand. And then a murder happens. Surprise! The show is thrilling and captivating, and it's super exciting to get to solve those cases little by little together with the characters. I love a good mystery, and the show definitely offers that. The only downside of the show is, in my opinion, the big-ass load of drama included. It could have been a little less dramatic. Number 6 is American Gods. Oh, this show is perfect for everyone who has a thing for mythology. Any mythology. Because the show is, as the title may tell, about the old and new American gods. The old ones being Nordic, Welsh, Egyptian, you name it. And the new ones, they are modern. The media, for example. And those gods want to fight each other. It's who has the right to rule America now? Like the old or the new gods. And the main character, Shadow Moon, which is, by the way, the weirdest name they could have chosen. He's kind of fresh out of prison, and now he gets thrown into this mess, into this disagreement of the gods. It's funny as hell. You see what I did there? The show just takes a completely new turn on the interpretation of ancient mythology. And as someone who knows relatively much about mythology, at least Greek and Nordic, the other ones are just eh. I enjoyed every second of it. Reign is number 5. Reign is a historical drama about the life of young Mary Stuart, Queen of the Scots, and it starts in 1557 with Mary living in France, awaiting to be married to Prince Francis, her promised husband. And the show has 4 seasons and follows Mary along her journey to be queen and all the things happening to her and in the royal family. The reason I put the show on this list is that I do very much enjoy a historical show or movie as long as it's well written. And Reign definitely is. It's history made exciting, captivating, emotionally scarring. And the characters are not just boring little palace peasants, but they are fleshed out very well. That sounds weird. If you like shows, even fantasy shows centered around the Middle Ages, then this one is for you to check out. Definitely. Moving on to number 4, Chernobyl. This one's not for everyone. Chernobyl is a British-American miniseries that was first released on HBO and Sky. And it centers around the events of Chernobyl. It's not for everyone because it gets pretty graphic and it is shocking in many ways, since the aim of the writers was for the viewer to get a realistic idea of how terrible this catastrophe actually was on the people involved. Also, you learn quite a lot about how the events were tried to be covered, what decisions had to be made, what was at stake, and how it all played out with the consequences that inevitably had to follow. For me, as someone who likes the drama and is not shocked so easily, I know this sounds unsettling, but I found it to be very interesting, to understand the physics behind the catastrophe and how it was possible for such an incident to even, actually happen. You would have guessed it was human failure, and for people who are interested in understanding events like that and who have, have no problem with a little drama added to it, then this is a brilliant image of the catastrophe and a very interesting show to watch. Number 3 is an old favorite of mine, but I just had to include it on the list here because it would have felt incomplete without Sherlock on it. Sherlock, is a modern British crime show based on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes, created by the impossible dream team Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. And what can I say? If you never watched it because it was mainstream or overrated, get over yourself, please, and don't miss out on that crown jewel. You won't regret it, no. The writing is, obviously, we are talking Stephen Moffat here, exquisite and thrilling and amazing. Benedict Cumberbatch, I love, plays Sherlock, a high-functioning sociopath trying to function in the modern London around people, There to help him is his flatmate and maid, his friend, John Watson, Martin Freeman, and together they solve cases. Go watch it now, but take it one episode at a time because there are only 13. As we are approaching number 1, there's one other show left to tell you about, which you all should know already. It's Game of Thrones, of course. Yes, I needed to name it here. Yes, there are people out there who haven't watched it yet. Game of Thrones is a fantasy show and it plays around the Middle Ages in a fantasy world called Westeros, which is actually inspired by the Old England. So also, though the events and royal families and characters are fantastical, the events in the series were inspired by real history. George R. R. Martin, who is the author of the book series which the show is based on, has created like a great and magnificent world with 7 kingdoms, legends, various gods, cultures, traditions, families, and the royal family is arguing who's gonna be king, who's gonna be sitting on the Iron Throne. Like that briefly summarizes the plot. But you got so many characters, too many to name them all, and they all have their stories, their background, their dreams, their wishes, their plans. And the show manages to create all these storylines intertwined into each other. And you get to see the politically problematic and exciting mess played out from different points of views. We don't talk about the ending, that's another story. But the show is fantastic and an absolute must-watch. And number 1 on the list is Supernatural. Oh my gosh, I was so excited for this one. I started watching Supernatural in January this year, and it has become my favorite show of all time. Like, I never thought that something could ever top Doctor Who, but Supernatural has it all. It's horror, it's comedy, it's tragedy, it's drama, it's fantasy, it's pure gold. The main characters are the brothers Sam and Dean Winchester, who are played by Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki. I swear everyone in this show is so damn attractive, it's not even funny anymore. So Sam and Dean are hunters. They hunt supernatural things, monsters like vampires, werewolves, demons, ghosts, witches, ghouls, fairies, whatever. Whatever kills or threatens people, they hunt it. And the story starts as, a spoiler alert, their mother dies, killed by a demon, and Sam and Dean's father then proceeds to hunt the demon down, and several years later, when the boys are grown up, they all have become hunters of the supernatural. But Sam wanted out, he went to college. Then the father of Sam and Dean, he vanished, and Sam has to team up with his brother Dean to find him. And that's where everything starts. I gotta admit, the show needs 2 or 3 seasons to, find its character, find the style, but after that it's just magical. It's super funny and it's the perfect portion of angst and mystery combined with a very creative writing and great character development. You gotta check it out. If you have never seen it, you gotta like it. If you like Sherlock, you'll love it, and if you like Doctor Who, you'll love it. These 3 fandoms, they are attached to each other. There's no way out. None. So that shall be it for today. These were my top 10 best shows to watch on Prime Video in 2021. And if you like this video and you agree on my favorites, make sure to hit the like button. And if not, go to the comments and fight me. Or tell me your favorite shows. I definitely still have a lot to watch, that's for sure. Also take a look on my other videos. I make mostly spiritual content like tarot readings, but also entertainment and music. And if you don't want to miss out on that, you know, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would love to see you in another video soon. But for now, I wish you a wonderful day and